On our left side, we've got Ganon, top player.
And
ooh, sorry, on the right
on
side.
the right side, as the red humans, we do have Zlex. Hopefully red versus orange won't be causing too many problems. We should have made them choose, like, red and blue or something.
Yeah, or white and black. I'm not even sure if that's in, but that would have been nice for us.
Yeah, actually, right off the bat, Zlex pretty much getting lucky with the scout. He's like, right away going to be seeing exactly what his opponent is doing. He's going to know it's double refinery. Now, Zlex is going double refinery himself. He could have gone for a cancel or something like that. We'll have to see if he goes for that. Most likely, he'll just be, you know, looking at his opponent thinking, all right, double refinery, I'm safe as well.
Indeed. Well, again, this is just a smart move from Zlex. You want to know if he's close or not. So, in my eyes, this is a little mistake from Ganon. It's not a thing that will lose you the game, but it are the small things that matter.
Yep, and he's going to be taking a little bit of damage. Now, of course, with how early these guys started their refineries, they can't actually finish them off. Some players do like to delay their first building, since you can't actually go refinery without having it pause in production. So some players like to get out the scout first or start their refinery a little bit later, because as you can see, I mean, it's going to be finishing at about the same time, even if you delay it.
Indeed, it doesn't really matter.
Yep, immediately into the factory for ZxGanon. The same thing. So yeah, these guys, they can... ZxGanon just now is going to be getting the scout. He's not going to know exactly up to this point what Zlex was going for, so he always has to have that worry, but now that he's actually been able to see, okay, he went double refinery as well, I'm safe.
Yeah, exactly the same build order, which is funny, because when you play Quick Match, you see so many different build orders, and these guys just know, okay, I need to be aggressive early game. They've watched each other's streams, they know each other probably, they played each other in the map pool, so they know they have to be aggressive to win this series.
Yeah, I know Zlex was talking about some of the matches that he had with ZxGanon, and kind of his confidence going into the match was maybe a little bit low.
Okay, well, 4 factories for Ganon.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the limit. If you're going relatively cheap units like the Trident or the Revolver, then you can produce off of that 4 factory off of just 2 ref. But he's going to be maxing out. He's not going to have a lot of income left over for expanding, so we'll have to see how long he keeps this production up.
He will be exactly at -0. He will have exactly enough money to produce from 4 factories.
Yeah, unless he somehow misplaced one of his extractors, which that would just be awful.
No, players on this level will not misplace extractors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly hard to tell who's got the superior numbers just because we can't actually see into the brush, but at this point, Zlex has definitely got the overwhelming odds. He may be able to pick off one more of the Tridents. No, he does turn, so he's not going to have any opportunity to pick off some of the weakened units. ZxGanon going to be continuing to pump out more and more Tridents, not mixing in Revolvers at this point.
Well, some people like to believe that Revolvers are way better and way more cost efficient than Tridents, but I'm still not convinced about it.
Well, I mean, it of course depends on what you're fighting. Now, the anti-heavy Sentinel getting thrown down for Zlex. He's already taking his expansion.
Yeah, man.
And I believe on this map, you can get 3 10s on that spot if you're careful about your positioning.
I'm not exactly sure, but usually I just go 2 here, and I'm a greedy player, so I prefer to go for the +13s.
Ah. Yeah, those +13s, we may end up seeing them come into effect. Now, one thing that could be possible is either player kind of expanding down south towards the more open area rather than expanding towards their opponent. Because, of course, you do have a somewhat safe down there, the +13s that you could end up getting.
Indeed. Well, that's a thing we will see pretty quick, I assume. I mean, +13, relatively safe. Why not take it, man?
Yeah, or at least try to go for it. It's not like the Harvesters cost any money or anything like that, so the risk is relatively low. Now, Zlex is a little bit ahead on the eco there. He's actually, well, he was adding on another refiner. It looks like he has canceled it there.
Indeed. I'm curious to see what he will do. Oh, he just replaced it on a different area, on a different side.
Yeah, I guess he didn't want the SimCity to be hurting his units and their pathing too much, as you can, unfortunately, create some chokes. I know when I was first playing Beta and Human, I had real problems getting my SimCity to actually work properly, because I just wasn't really thinking out the layout of my base. Fortunately, these guys are thinking a good bit more. More just constant Trident production, really, from Zlex.
A bit of scouting from Zlex now. He wants to know exactly what he's up against. Which is cool. I mean, just 2 Tridents is not gonna win you the game.
No, yeah, he just wants enough HP in those 2 units to be able to figure out what exactly is my opponent doing, and he's gonna see, oh, he hasn't gone for massive tech, he's just kind of doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, he's just slightly slower.
Indeed. Building a tank attachment for Zlex now. Curious to see if he will go. We see a large factory going up with another tank attachment.
Yeah, he could be going into Gladys production, or he might just be starting to tech his way towards those Lancers. We know that, I mean, human players in general love their Lancer teleport moves, but Zlex especially.
Yeah, it's so strong. Well, it won him the last series. Without his teleporter, he would have lost the game in the series.
Yeah, for sure.
Funny, you see air from Ganon. It's maybe just for a scout unit, or it could be to go bombers.
Interesting. Yeah, he's just now going to be adding on that air attachment. Personally, I always love the kind of scouting air units, just to get my vision out there. And actually, Ganon... Huh, he is scouting way far down south.
Yeah. It's not like a human can build a proxy there, but not sure what he's want to see there.
Yeah, maybe he's like really maybe he's really worried about the conduits getting all that way down south. Now, Zlex trying to expand his conduits forward. I'm guessing he wants to start hopping forward with turrets.
Indeed, Tower Rush. Kind of reminds me of Command & Conquer.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how the build radius is kind of similar in that way. Of the conduits kind of act like your build radius. It's, of course, mechanically a little bit different.
Oh, the +13s are being built right now on both sides, and a +13 in the middle.
Ah.
For, I think it's Zlex. Looks orange to me.
Yeah, Zlex, yeah, I think that's ZxGanon in the middle and on the left.
Ooh, it's a great position there to counter the units from Ganon. Uphill.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like we're running into that little bit of lag that caused some problems in the last series.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is for you as well.
It is for me. I was not sure if it's my computer or just the game.
Yeah, this reminds me of what happened in that game between Zlex and Sarcasm.
Yeah, again, man. What's up with that? On the left side, we've got Ganon in white.
And on the right side, the current king of the hill from ZxReplays.com, it is the red human, Zlex.
Again, bottom against bottom? Or top against top?
Yeah.
Close
Yeah,
sides.
so that's kind of what I was thinking of, like, it's the same spawns in relation to the map, but because they are going to be on the bottom instead of the top, it's technically a little bit different. Now, the openers for both guys, for as far as scouting goes, is considerably better this game for ZxGanon.
Ooh, they both got killed.
Yeah, buddy.
It was close though. I mean, the first shot was fired by Ganon for sure.
Yeah, but because they've got that travel time, each of the shots has a little bit of weight before it impacts. Yeah, they were able to kill each other. Now, it's the exact same openers that we saw last game, and we know that Zlex, from on Tuesday, the first round of King of the Hill, we saw for sure that Zlex likes his double refinery openers, and it looks like ZxGanon, he's really liking the double refinery as well.
Well, it's a pretty safe, yet aggressive build order. Lol, and Ganon just found the bug. You can see the Mother Goose exploding through the fog of war.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, because the player is out of the game in that point. If you can see the Mother Goose through the fog of war when they're not exploding, that's a bit more of a problem.
Indeed. Oh well. For now, we have to live with it.
Indeed. Now, on grasslands, like we kind of talked about before, you've got this kind of expansion, which is, I'm comfortable calling this your natural expansion. You've got your 2 in-base catalyst pools, and then your natural expansion is basically pointing you directly at your opponent. And then we've got the outline expansions, which are quite rich, 13 pools in kind of the middle of the map. So we'll see if these guys decide to change it up. So far, it's a mirror of last game.
Yeah, man, it's an exact copy. Well, I can make a bet for this. They will do exactly the same. We will see conduits going to the first, their natural expansion, and from there it will be a little fight.
Yep, we might just see a big clash in the middle, kind of like, if you think about sometimes how Tournament Rift will turn into just like a one-lane kind of map, sometimes. Mm-hmm. This has the same sort of potential. Oh, now again, it's just lots of tridents coming out for ZxGanon.
Yeah, well, a different build order for him though. He played with 4 factories last game, just going for the fostered refinery now.
Indeed.
The same for Zlex.
Wow, so they're both changing it up the same way, because Zlex ended up going for 4 fac as well. Now, it looks like Zlex, he's scouting up north a little bit here. This could be, again, for that 13 pool. These 13 pools on... Man, when I say 13 pool, I only think of StarCraft. But yeah, he's going immediately for that 13. And if you're careful with your placement, you can get 5 13 extractors on each of these pools. So I don't know if we'll be seeing that kind of economy be established, but it certainly is helpful.
Well, this plus 13 can make a difference in my opinion. I mean, early game, you've got a little bit of extra money to build the extra extractor or the extra refinery. I mean, the extra factory. It's a little things that matter, and I think Zlex made a good decision by building the extractor right there.
Yeah, Zlex, again, he's going for kind of that same scouting pattern that we saw in the last game. Now, last game it was the double trident, in this game it's just the single trident. And for those of you who are just tuning in, you technically didn't miss anything because we had an unfortunate DC in game number 1, so we have to replay it because it was far from decided. But Zlex going in for kind of that mid-game, well, not quite mid-game scout, but that 5-minute scout.
Indeed. Just to know what he is up against. Is it fast tech? Is it eco? He definitely knows it's an eco build now.
Yeah. And with that plus 13, he's actually going to be outmined by his opponent once this second extractor finishes up on his opponent's natural. But Zlex has dropped down another extractor on kind of that outline expansion. So he's going to have plus 26 just from the outline expansion itself. And he can still, if he starts making some headway towards ZxGanon, he can still take his natural expansion quite easily.
He's coming in right now. Will he have enough? I don't think so, but we will see.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're just watching the War of the Invisible Units as they're both hidden in the brush.
Yeah, he goes back. It was to be expected that he would not have enough.
Yeah, and adding on the Heavy Sentinel as well for ZxGanon. He wants that extra bit of defense. Now, with this map, you've got the rocks, which are kind of your destructible debris on what are the north sides for each of these guys. Now, potentially, that'll end up being sniped down for some sort of counterattacks, although we may just see teleporters be used in favor of actual counterattacks.
Yeah, it would be funny, just teleporters over a little distance, but those...
And then...
a little distance then, like, can make a huge difference. Yeah, just kill everything, the entire HQ, win the game.
Yep. Now, Zlex adding on a third extractor. ZxGanon, again, he's going to be scouting way up north with that trident. And I don't know that he actually saw this little harassment force from Zlex, but Zlex is going to come in and try to snipe this extractor, and I don't know if the ZxGanon is actually reacting quick enough to stop this.
Oh, he has the advantage of the brushes here. I mean, it's a great position for Zlex to be in here.
Yeah, ZxGanon was able to push Zlex away, but he hasn't really defeated the threat. And now Zlex going to be coming forward again, just taking some pot shots off at these extractors.
And a fourth extractor being added to the 13 pool.
Ah. I don't know that he actually placed these correctly enough to get all 5, but this is going to be scouted. Yeah, this is going to be scouted by ZxGanon, so he's going to be like, oh, I'm currently sitting on like plus 40 economy a second, and Zlex has more than that just in this little pool.
Indeed.
Or just about. But yeah, that's once that last extractor
he's
finishes
going to
up
move in.
Zlex.
I'm not sure if Zlex has enough units near his base to defend this.
He should have a couple of anti-heavy sentinels, although
I think Ganon should go for the plus 13s.
Yeah, we'll see if Zlex is able to get his units out there in time. Ganon isn't quite gunning for it. He's kind of pausing by one of the outline expansion pools. I'm not actually sure. Okay, so yeah, ZxGanon, he's moving in now, but he's allowed Zlex to buy a lot of time, and of course, with his large factories coming online in a couple of moments, we'll have to see if Zlex has enough units to hold this off. He's got the brush advantage right now.
He has. Will it be enough? I don't think so. I think Ganon has more units than Zlex, but we will see. Oh, on the other side, Zlex moving in to the base of Ganon.
Oh, if he can snipe down some of these power conduits and really lock down the production of his opponent, then killing off some of this economy may not even matter very much for ZxGanon. He might actually lose this fight. It's going to be hard to tell. No, I think he's got just barely enough to overwhelm Zlex at Zlex's outline expansion, but Zlex has a lot of units. No, there's the heavy sentinel. He's going to be able to hold this off no problem.
Indeed. There's no way he can get out of here. Glady is in the fight.
Yep, ZxGanon has bought enough time to build up some Gladiuses. If Zlex dives for it, he might be able to snipe off one or two of them, but he's in just such a bad situation.
In the meanwhile, the force that attacked his 13 pool got killed by his army, so he's fine there, but Ganon has a lot more units, so it seems. At least more tier 2 units.
Yeah, once you get up to that tier 2, you can really overwhelm your opponent. Now, Zlex is going to be scouting in. He's going to see, okay, so you've got the 13 as well, but it's not quite heavily saturated as mine is. I would like to see Zlex actually just take kind of his quote-unquote natural expansion, which is near him.
Well, if I was Zlex, I would just focus on units now. He has seen the force of Ganon. He knows he needs units now.
Yeah, he's moving out to the middle of the map. I think he wants to gain some sort of brush advantage and hope to gain the surprise over ZxGanon. I don't know that he'll actually be able to, but he is heading into the brush now.
The brush advantage is huge, but I doubt if it will be enough.
Yeah, now ZxGanon does actually have a scout, a monitor, inside of Zlex's base, but it doesn't look like he's got a teleporter just yet.
No, that's something for more late game. What both players really could use now are artillery units. The Howitzer would do massive damage. I mean, so many tier 1 units. I mean, they would just devastate them.
Yep, Zlex, especially with his low-tech units, he's just going to get shredded. He needs to make sure that he doesn't let ZxGanon just get to that kind of critical mass of artillery. Now, ZxGanon, he's got 2 large factories. He's not really pumping too much out of them. He's getting that stealth and the artillery attachment, though. So soon, they will be online, they will be operational, and he's going to be starting to get some of that arty that we were talking about.
Big engagement in the bottom now.
Yeah, Zlex going to be moving in. Now it looks like the brush advantage may be going to ZxGanon for at least a little while. The Lancer's starting to get some nice shots off, eating up through the turrets as well. I don't know that Zlex has enough, though. There's plenty of Gladiuses on the back end of this army. It's hard to tell how many units are actually in the brush. I think Zlex is just being torn apart.
Yeah, it looks that way. More reinforcements coming from Ganon.
Yeah, he's got more and more Gladiuses just pumping onto the front lines. The Lancer goes down, and it looks like maybe a couple of Tridents will end up escaping, but either way, it may not be enough for Zlex to actually stop ZxGanon. The teleporter is on the way for Zlex. Now, maybe if you had some really crazy eco, we'd see multiple teleporters, but that's some crazy stuff. If you ever get to the point where you've got multiple teleporters, you know you're so far ahead.
Indeed, it's usually just when a human player is camping up or another player is camping up, then you have multiple teleporters, but in this game we will not see it happen. I'm actually not sure what Zlex can do, man. I mean, Ganon is way ahead in economy.
Yeah, Zlex made that tier 2 transition so late, and his production kicked in a lot later in terms of just full-time tier 2 production than Ganon. So Ganon has had so many more tier 2 units over Zlex. Zlex is going to be trying to come back in the same way that we saw him come back in some of the other King of the Hill events, which is, of course, harassing those worker lines and starting to put the pressure on multiple locations at once.
Well, it worked last game.
Yeah, it worked in the last series. He snipes one of the extractors, which is quite nice, ZxGanon. Unfortunately, he's not actually noticing, he's not reproducing it just yet.
He is also attacking the bottom.
Oh, he's moving in with Lancers, he's eating up turrets. If he can snipe down those extractors, that would also be pretty nice, just because that is still eco that ZxGanon has. Oh, he's gonna actually get the refineries. He snipes down one extremely quickly. ZxGanon is kind of late to the response, but now he does have the howitzers. They're going to start pounding on this army, but both of the refineries are down. This army, I mean, yeah, it may be taken out, but he's kind of crippled ZxGanon's future economy.
He did. I think they're on the same foot now. I don't think Zlex has many more.
I think if Zlex is able to play a little bit defensively, oh, his teleporter's done, he's wrapped the Lancers back, but if he's able to play a little bit defensively, if he's able to hold the line and he doesn't lose a lot of his infrastructure, he definitely has an opportunity to come back. But I don't know if both of these players selected their entire armies and A-moved, I think ZxGanon would still win pretty handily.
Yeah,
so yeah, Zlex has to keep that in mind. He has to play a little bit careful, but we see he's going for that kind of patented move.
Yeah, but Ganon is prepared, man. Look at all those turrets.
Oh, yeah, and he's also going to be sniping down the monitors. Now, this also can be used to draw forces out of position. I don't know if we'll actually see that.
That would be nice, like kill the howitzers. I carefully placed down Lancer drop. Would make a huge difference.
Yeah, he might also just be able to snipe off some, you know, like extractors or refineries. Just getting over there and doing the economic damage might be enough. But yeah, Zlex definitely has to be careful with his actual live army moving around out on the map. He has to be careful that he doesn't get caught out of position.
Yeah, he needs more howitzers. Howitzers are going to make the difference in the next assault.
Oh, Zlex is starting to poke forward. He's trying to snipe some of the extractors. He knows that his opponent has got the brush advantage, that he's got that artillery, though, so he's being very careful, kind of jockeying for position. Oh, unfortunately for ZxGanon, if he loses these extractors in the middle, that's not going to be good. There's the teleport forward. He's going for the snipe on the howitzers, just like you talked about. He gets one, but the overwhelming forces from ZxGanon are here. They've got pretty much a surround. Now, Zlex, if he can break this army, he might have enough to push on forward, but ZxGanon comes back out of the brush. He's starting to put a lot of DPS on Zlex. Zlex kills both of the extractors, turn tails, and is going to be getting out of dodge.
Yeah, Ganon simply has too much units at this moment. The only thing Zlex can do is counter, just be aggressive all over the map. A heads-on confrontation is simply not what he can afford right now. Ooh, but maybe... Actually,
with these reinforcements, he might be able to do it. He's been doing a good job of cutting down the eco of his opponent, and unfortunately we can't see what ZxGanon is at. But I don't know that ZxGanon has enough to hold on with the howitzers coming in for Zlex.
It seems like it's an easy battle there. Howitzers making the difference.
Oh, ZxGanon still has a small contingency force in the south guarding kind of his natural expansion area. So his army is starting to get split up. He doesn't have everything controlled well, and he's not really taking these fights too easily.
Oh, that's again one of the great things about Zlex. Just attacking everywhere, making sure your opponent has to pay on its toes. And here's what happens. People splitting their forces, being too careful maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if those units in the south would have made the absolute difference in that battle, but it certainly would have helped. Now, Zlex may actually be losing a contingency of his forces here. He's definitely going to be losing the howitzers if he's not careful, but he is starting to work away again at that eco of his opponent.
Yeah, but Ganon fully reinforced again. Man, a huge army again. Ganon as
yeah,
well.
he's been able to macro that up, and Zlex is trying to push in. He needs to actually get out of here. He's not going to be able to take this southern position against ZxGanon.
Nice. Howitzer micro. Just moving away, one shot, move away again.
Yeah, a little bit of the stutter step. Oh, we have another engagement in the middle near kind of one of those outlying pools. ZxGanon with a pretty clear army advantage, although Zlex could have forces hiding in the brush.
Yeah, it's hide and seek, man. We don't know it either.
Yeah, kind of like with those stealth stalkers in one of the previous matches. Zlex, if he's able to get some nice shots off with the howitzers like he is now, he's actually doing some pretty good damage. He's starting to focus down the howitzers with his lancers. Nice control by Zlex, but ZxGanon, we've seen him pull out these big armies before. Zlex still has to be careful.
Artillery is so strong in this game.
Oh, but Zlex is just targeting down all of the artillery. He's using that second group of forces to just eat away at all of the howitzers, distract them while he pulls the rest of the army apart.
Oh,
there's the GG.
Oh. No surrender yet? That would be BM.
No, it's an offensive GG after he loses that entire army. There we go.
Oh, man. Where was the turnaround? Because I'm absolutely sure Ganon was ahead of Zlex the entire game. And until one fight, was it that one fight that cost him the game?
It actually was, just because we had this point where ZxGanon had the higher tech units for so long, and then Zlex traded out a lot of supply, but he was able to snipe down some of those tougher units of his opponent and bought enough time to get up his own higher tech units. And then once Zlex was at that like Lancer, Howitzer, Gladius combo, once he had teched up pretty far and he actually got able to a point where he could contend the army of his opponent, it was just a little bit too many losses for ZxGanon.
As on the top, we've got Zlex again, playing human in red.
And on the right side, the blue humans, he's down 0-1 in this best of 3. It's ZxGanon. Immediately into the double refinery. Man, these guys, they are taking no chances. And it's you don't even have to build your refinery right away.
Now, well, that's maybe a thing. Well, even if you do not build it right away, people will know what you are doing. It's not like you think, oh, he's holding back his factory. No, it's like...
Well, yeah, because if you're going factory, you have to start it right away.
Exactly, so it does not really matter.
Yep, and once again, the two scouting units, the tridents from each player, they of course perfectly counter each other. And yeah, it's not like there's any particular micro that you can do to come out ahead in that engagement. You want to get the first shot off, but you're not going to survive it anyways unless you get two shots off.
Well, do you think it would be better if the units would fire when moving?
I don't know, but I wish there was some sort of ability that they had that would kind of change up the interactions between units. Because if you think about a game like Red Alert 3, every unit has an alternate ability, and that can really change up every interaction. If you just think about like Peacekeeper versus Imperial Warrior, like that's not just Peacekeepers shoot at Imperial Warriors, even Peacekeeper versus Peacekeeper. Like if we would have seen here, there's so many different ways that particular engagement can turn out other than this.
Yeah, true. Well, even if you look at 0 Hour, when you have a tank fight, the outcome would be different as well, because they shoot on the move. So...
yeah, that's a possibility.
So it's just a simple change. It changes a lot, of course, but it's relatively easy to change, and it would totally change the game.
I don't know about if betas would like that, if the tridents could fire while moving and the commandos couldn't. But we've got the double factory for each player. Oh, 2 more factories added on for ZxGanon, so he's looking to put on a lot of pressure.
Indeed. He's not going to the late game. He noticed Zlex was dominating the late game last time, so he's like, okay, let's not go into late game this time. Let's finish this fast.
And of course, on Stalker's Rise, you don't have the same sort of like 13 pool kind of mass that you do in Grasslands, but I do believe there are a couple of 13 pool spots on this map, but they're much more central.
Yeah,
you're going to be more in the kind of middle of the map, and we saw that kind of work to the disadvantage of Sarcasm in the mid to late game versus Zlex in one of the previous series, where Zlex, those expansions were so far out in the open, Zlex was able to utilize the extra space on the map and just pull his opponent apart.
Well, the plus 13s are exactly in the middle of the map. It's 4 spots with plus 13. I think you can only place 1 on them, so there are 4 plus 13 spots. But Zlex is going safe again, building his extractor on the left.
Yeah, and of course, because both players lost their scouting units, they technically haven't scouted what the other guy is doing, and that's most important for Zlex, because he's not going to know about this pressure, although, ooh, he does actually spot it a little bit here.
Yeah, because of the harvesters.
Yeah, he knows, well, and he's got a trident over there, but yeah, because he expanded off to the left, he's going to know about this, and ZxGanon, he's pooling all of his forces over here. So if this is buying quite a bit of time now, of course, Zlex needs to get up a turret.
Indeed, but even though he has an extractor there, he had no income from it whatsoever yet.
Yeah, all the harvesters are just being sniped.
Indeed. Ganon is in a nice position here right now. Moving in from the right side as well. Camping on the left side.
Yeah, he's got a ridiculous amount of production. Of course, Zlex is now up to that 4 factory production. ZxGanon did add on a 5th factory, which I believe will be technically putting him at a deficit, but it's like he'll be able to mostly afford it. Not quite, though.
Yeah, not sure how that actually works. I'm not sure if you actually produce more units or not.
Well, actually, wait a second. I think Tridents and... well, they're just building Tridents, so I think Tridents are +5 a second. Or -5 a second, I'm pretty sure, to build, so I don't know that 5th factory actually makes any sense at all, because he's only getting +20 a second and he's draining 25 a second.
Yeah, exactly. 4 factories is -0 or +0,
yeah,
so the 5th is a bit, I don't know, I'm not, maybe there's a beautiful theory behind it, but I'm not aware of it.
There might be a slight advantage. Now, Zlex is moving out a little bit here. He needs to be careful that he doesn't get caught by a really harsh concave of ZxGanon. And Zlex, again, he's bought a lot of time. He's been able to build up those turrets. And now ZxGanon, he's moving in. He's just doing a bit of that stutter step to get all of his units nice and close.
I don't think he has enough.
If he tries to engage into a heavy sentinel, he definitely doesn't have enough. He might be able to overwhelm some of the forces of Zlex here, but Zlex has the much, much closer production. Yeah, ZxGanon is going to be forced to push away, and it's like that 5 factory production is good and all, but he pooled so many forces. Zlex was able to get up 4 factories of his own. He was able to produce quite a few units.
Yeah, the second refinery from Ganon coming up now, but it's spotted right away.
Now, of course, the good thing that Ganon is doing is sniping all of the harvesters of Zlex, meaning the Zlex spent that extra 800 on that refinery and hasn't really gotten anything for it.
No. Well, one thing to note, though, for newer players, or maybe even experienced players, if a harvester is coming back from the catalyst pool and you shoot it, it will explode and it will harm your units. So be careful when shooting returning harvesters.
Yeah, I think we saw a little bit, yeah, you can see every time there's one that's coming back from the refinery or from the extractor, ZxGanon is indeed pulling his forces away from it.
Indeed. A little fight on the bottom left, won by Ganon, and his second extractor is up.
Oh yeah, the 2 tridents in the bottom right there. Now ZxGanon, he's continuing to just pump off of those factories. He's keeping his 5th one up and running as well. He is starting to expand south, so he's going to have a little bit more money. He can start adding on more refineries or potentially more tech if that's what he wants to do. But Zlex, he's got those anti-heavy sentinels up, so he can potentially bait ZxGanon into fighting against this heavy sentinel.
No, you can only contain him in his base for now.
Oh, there we go. The heavy sentinel is getting some nice shots off, so Zlex is going to have that defensive advantage.
Yeah,
and I don't know that... Yeah, ZxGanon needs to just pull away.
Well, the best thing... I think this engagement was a pretty huge mistake. He had more units, and simply contain your enemy. Get ahead in eco, and win this game. There is no need for him to win right now. I mean, he is contained, he has no eco from the extractor on the left. Oh, which he actually replaced to the right. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he's actually rebuilt it, which kind of brings me to the next point, which is the scouting. Of course, ZxGanon, he's going to be really focused on building all of those ground units, but splitting off maybe one trident or a revolver off to different parts of the map is not the worst idea, just to make sure that your opponent is not sneaking up any sneaky expansions.
Indeed. Oh, he's moving in now. Will he go for the engagement, or is it just checking out?
Zlex might actually have enough here to overwhelm ZxGanon. Now, with the production, he probably doesn't have enough to overwhelm ZxGanon, but this small little force here of ZxGanon's is going to get trashed.
It's like 10-ish units against 4 or 5 in his base.
Ooh,
and
but
his main
Zlex...
force, yeah, it's damaged though.
Yeah.
A lot of damaged units. I think half of his
that's
forces
actually...
are damaged.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, Zlex still doesn't have quite enough forces to overwhelm that, but Zlex is trying to draw ZxGanon back. ZxGanon just needs to, again, contain, like you were talking about before. Work on capping out Zlex's economy and keeping it down while establishing his own economy, which we're seeing him do in the middle of the map.
Yeah, still no tech up from either of the guys. So, it will just go on for at least a few minutes with tier 1 units.
Yep, and there's that plus 13. The extractor is just now finishing up, and that is going to be a nice eco boom for ZxGanon.
Will it be scouted right away? Or is that...
Oh, man.
Zlex
yeah.
is moving out.
Again, Zlex, if this is the way that he wins this game as well, then I don't know, what do you even say to that? It's like, oh, the other guy beat me because he was out multitasking me and sniping all my eco.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's what Zlex does awesome. I mean, be aggressive all over the map. Ooh, did we get a Lex back again? I have.
Yeah.
Ah, man, again. Well, in the bottom, we've got Zlex, our current king.
And on the right side, we have the challenger who's down 0-1 in this best of 3. It's ZxGanon. Which, it's like every DC that we get a mirrored game anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
Indeed, we see a different build order here, though.
Ah.
Zlex going aggressive early game. Let's see if we can pull it off.
Yeah, one refinery immediately into the factory, and of course, he could go into double fac if you really want to go crazy pressure on just that one refinery.
Well,
you can afford it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of double factory. I really am. Especially when you know you are close. You can just camp the miners. And
yeah.
You need a lot of micro for that. You have to be constantly aware of what's going on. But yeah, you can be way ahead in about 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, he immediately pumps out one trident, of course, with the factory. I mean, it's kind of crazy how much cheaper factories are than refineries. But with that extra 200 credits that you start with, you can immediately get up that factory, and then, of course, by then, your harvesters are starting to bring in those resources. You've got a little bit of money to immediately pump out your first unit. So Zlex is going to be just constantly producing, most likely. We'll have to see exactly when he decides to transition into his refinery, which is right now.
Yeah, I think you need about 3 or 4 tridents before you can actually kill off the harvesters going out.
Yeah, it's kind of curious that he's just moving out with the 2 right now, and he's not producing any more on his factory. He's just going straight into the refinery, so he doesn't have any plans to build more units than this for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, and with 3 factories going up, there is not really much he can do. So for me, it's either way, you go 2 factories and go into spam, or you just build 2 refineries. 1 factory, it's just like, I want to be aggressive, but not really.
Yeah, he's starting to move in. Now, of course, ZxGanon isn't going to know that this is coming. Of course, with the loss of the Trident early on, he's going to have no idea. But
well,
the DPS from 2 Tridents is not that scary.
No, he will simply not have enough units to kill harvesters. You need more units for it.
Yeah, he's gonna, I guess, poke and prod, do what he can, but I don't know that Zlex actually has the best opener here. He's adding on 2 more factories after his refinery. I guess it's more of a safety move, as he was like, look, ZxGanon, he's down 0-1 after that last DC. Maybe he wants to do something aggressive again.
Yeah, maybe he expected the cheese, but...
It's quite possible.
But the only cheese you can do here is like 2 factories, and even then you have to be very close. So, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the starter from Zlex.
Yeah, it definitely seems like something that he was doing just for security. But ZxGanon now has just an overwhelming number of tridents. Of course, that now quad factory production, which is going to pretty much tap out his resources on just those 2 extractors. But he's going to have lots of units coming out.
Yeah, 6 against 2. I mean, how to defend that?
Yeah, Zlex hasn't actually dropped down any turrets. He's dropping down another refinery, which, I don't know, maybe we're going to see something similar. He's actually... Oh, he unfortunately pulled his trident that was scouting the catalyst pool. He pulled it a little bit too early, so he didn't actually get the extractor down.
Oh, and very nice, just killing off the harvesters, limiting the income. But again, we see here, tridents do barely any damage against buildings.
Yep, so of course he can take those pot shots at the factories. It's not going to do anything. Zlex is getting his 3rd extractor up and running over on the left side of the map. That should be a +10 as well. But all of the harvesters are just getting sniped, which is really, until we get an overwhelming number of tridents, which is really the only thing that ZxGanon can do is snipe the harvesters. Okay, there's the turret. Oh yeah, definitely good enough.
Yeah, but well, from here, just limit his income, then expand yourself. Just, you know you have more units, pause your entire production and just build 1 or 2 extra refineries.
Yeah. Now, of course, Zlex is going to try to force an engagement on top of this anti-heavy sentinel because that's how he's going to gain his advantage. Other than that anti-heavy sentinel, he's just going to lose every battle straight up. We saw him trying to do some cutesy moves with the 2 tridents he built earlier, poking and prodding, but it's not enough.
This will give him a good 15 seconds.
Yeah, now, fortunately, because Zlex got up that other expansion and it's been completely unharassed, he's not actually down on eco very much in comparison to where he would be if he was only 1 refinery. But he's 2 refineries, so he's actually not that far behind.
No, he's not, but...
In the unit count, he's far behind, but...
Yeah, but he can easily hold it off. I mean, the second anti-heavy sentinel coming. I mean, I think Ganon should have transitioned into eco way sooner. This is just overcommitting to a build order.
Ganon is at the point where he's got an overwhelming number of forces in a straight-up engagement, not counting base defenses, so he can contain. And that's kind of not what we saw him do the last game, and it ended up snowballing a little bit for Zlex, as Zlex was able to force those engagements on top of the anti-heavy sentinels.
Well, 4th refinery going down, though. So, he is listening to us. Must be.
Exactly. He's like, oh man, I really want to know what the commentators are saying.
Well, they're commentating. They must be really good.
Yes, exactly. That's why we're not playing. But Zlex, again, we're seeing him poke forward, take a little bit of damage, and then multiple times he's just pulled all of his forces back, and he's trying to bait ZxGanon into one of those turrets. He keeps making these kind of like same little cutesy moves where he pushes forward. He's like, hey, I'm shooting you. Come chase me over towards this anti-heavy sentinel.
Indeed. Well, he should know that there is an extractor somewhere else, and I think he should have moved to kill that extractor a bit sooner. Not even with a lot of units, just 3 or 4 units. Just kill off the harvesters like he did last game.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have to pull his entire army.
No, just poke around a bit, limit his income, that's all you have to do.
Yep. ZxGanon, like you talked about before, he's sitting on that 4 refinery economy, which Zlex is looking to harass, so potentially we'll see a bit of harassment and counter-harassment for these 2 players.
Well, both sides are killing the extractors, I think. Or is Ganon moving in? He's actually moving in.
Yeah, he might be going for the kill. And of course, with such limited production, Zlex's units are just going to get eaten up as they come out 1 by 1. He needs the turrets.
A delay there, which which is
nice. And yeah, nice move there by ZxGanon. Kills the conduit cross, kills the power to 2 of those factories, and he can get out of there. That's not huge damage, it's not game-winning damage by itself, but he's killed so many harvesters, he's delayed that eco by so much.
Yeah, but Zlex has killed 1 refinery there and killing the other extractor, the other extractor there. So
yeah,
even though it seems Ganon did a nice job there, I think Zlex comes up ahead here.
Just because of the eco advantage?
Exactly. I mean, Ganon cannot kill him there, so just he loses eco, which is way more costable than just a little bit of building time for your units.
Yeah, and I guess Zlex has actually replaced both of his extractors on the right side of the map where his army is, so he's going to start to get that eco up and rolling. So he's still going to be on that 4 refinery economy once he actually gets over there, but he'll have his army to protect and his heavy sentinels at home to protect against ZxGanon's army.
Yes, and Ganon replaced the extractors on the top right.
Ah,
the engagement's going on.
Yeah, no, Zlex does have a big patch of reinforcements, which may end up crushing this force of ZxGanon, because I think ZxGanon has the advantage in the battle right at this moment. But once the reinforcements get here for each player, we'll have to see how it pans out. I think Zlex will have the advantage.
He will. He has, I think, about 5 or 6 units more.
Yeah, and of course, now that he's got the 2 groups of units just shooting everything down, ZxGanon did not bring his reinforcements over. He's still got half of his units trapped on the other half of the map, so yeah, he's not actually being able to cost-effectively engage.
I'm not sure why he's still skipping his entire army there. Just hold 4 units there and bring the rest back to your base.
Yeah, now Zlex may not actually have enough to bust the front. There's 2 anti-heavy sentinels there, and he needs to make sure that he doesn't make the same mistake that ZxGanon made and commit too many forces. Now, of course, ZxGanon can take this opportunity. He's kind of locked down the left half of Zlex's base. He's secured his own main base. He can take this opportunity to start teching up, maybe get that artillery that we saw be super effective in the previous game. He's already got the air attachment for those monitors and the air scouts.
Tank attachment, everything. Let's see.
Yeah. Ooh, Zlex has a small raiding party heading up north. He may have the idea of like, yes, you've got some units over here. You're going to try to go for these expansions up in the north. But ZxGanon's army is going to be catching Zlex's army out of position. And ZxGanon will be able to eat up a couple of the units right there, and then he may be able to just crush the rest once they actually turn to engage.
Well, he has the advantage of the brushes, though. I doubt he has enough unit to kill Ganon's army though, but advantage for sure.
Yeah, I think they're both actually just continuing to pump lots of tier 1 units. If one of them got out just a couple of howitzers, it doesn't even have to be a crazy amount. They could shred so many of these tier 1 units.
Indeed.
Oh, and Zlex doesn't actually get the extractor. No. ZxGanon moves in just in time. He's able to take out all of Zlex's forces just with overwhelming firepower. Well, he's adding on air pads.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think Das Duolon is one of his friends, and I played against something similar here. The air pads, the units from the air pads, eat through tier 1 units as well.
Yeah.
And the main advantage there, I think they do decent damage against heavy sentinels as well, so if he can pull this off, it could be game-changing.
Yep, he just needs to buy a little bit more time, and again, because Zlex is so dependent on those tier 1 units, he doesn't actually have the armor necessary to bust the front of his opponent. He is going a little bit unchecked on the eco in the bottom right. I would like to see Zlex maybe take a couple more expansions there as well, just get that eco rolling even more, but he needs to get tech up.
He does, indeed. Well, the army is about even now. I even think Ganon is ahead.
Yeah, I think Ganon should be ahead, especially, Zlex, do not commit this army. Yeah, Ganon, he's playing it smart. He's got just a couple of forces outside of his expansions. He's starting to pump out those Gladiuses. He's starting to get up those higher tech units to really eat away at his opponent's army.
Something has been sold in Ganon's base. I think it's one of the factories. But in the meanwhile, still on the bottom left, no mining there from Zlex as the initial... Oh, in the middle.
Oh,
Zlex
yeah.
lost his entire army.
Ganon is just trouncing Zlex in this game, and of course, on the left side, those harvesters are just getting destroyed by those forces that Ganon positioned earlier in the game.
Indeed. No mining it from there at all.
Yeah, everything is just getting crushed. Now, Ganon... Oh, yeah. Zlex may be able to overwhelm this army, but...
Ganon had a better position.
Yeah, Zlex's army was really trailed out for the start of that engagement.
Yeah.
He does still have a healthy number of forces. I'm not actually sure where the Gladiuses are. They're trailing a little bit behind. Oh, and the Scythes come in. Nice split from Zlex. Maybe not great split, but a nice split for sure. A lot of kind of splash damage raining down on top of these units, and now Ganon just has way too many forces in the middle of the map. Those scythes really cutting down Zlex's forces, allowing the ground units to finish the job.
I'm curious to see the response. We've seen another large factory from Zlex, and a refinery again, and some air pads as well as I think it will be an anti-air sentinel.
Yeah, he's going to need maybe a couple more sentinels up just around his base. He can tell that there's monitors flying around. It wouldn't be a bad idea to clear those monitors out. He doesn't exactly know what his opponent is doing. I mean, for all he knows, for all Zlex knows, ZxGanon could be going for the same teleporter Lancer move that he was doing.
Indeed. Which would be a smart move in my opinion.
Yep. Oh, Zlex, he still has not noticed that these harvesters have been getting killed for the past 3 or 4 minutes in this game.
That's really sloppy.
I mean, that's like 2,400 credits worth of refineries getting used up.
Oh, GG.
And there's just... Yeah. I think Zlex finally figured out how far behind he was in that game.
Well,
either that or he finally noticed, like, oh, I have not actually been harvesting from these 3 extractors on the left side at all.
Indeed. And on the top, we've got Zlex, our guy from Denmark, our current king, or maybe not Denmark, we don't know exactly.
I'm pretty sure he's from Denmark.
Denmark
but
it is.
in the southern position, again on the right side, the blue humans, the challenger, it's ZxGanon.
Alright, to refine... Oh! 2 factory opening from Zlex.
Ooh.
You gotta love it! This is exactly what we talked about the previous game. Like, 1 factory simply is not enough. But I'm not sure, man. Will this map be big, be small enough?
Huh. So yeah, that's the thing is, like, it can work on Stalker's Rise because of how close you are, but Zlex scouted the wrong way. ZxGanon is scouting the correct way. He's gonna have so much time to react. I mean, he's already... Okay, so he doesn't actually have his factory on the way yet, but he's got a second refinery on the way, and he's still gonna have a lot of time to react because the factories are just now finishing up for Zlex. And it's gonna take, you know, another 15-20 seconds for the units to come out, and then another 20-30 seconds for them to get down to the southern part of the map.
Yeah. Well, the way this map works, the only thing Zlex can do now is just contain. I mean, it's as simple as building 1 factory, attach an artillery, or I mean, anti-tech turret, anti-tank turret, I forgot his name. Just add it and you're done. It's 3 units,
Yep.
I mean, he cannot do that much except just delay and contain.
Yeah, now, if Zlex decides to go for some sort of, like, really smart delay, and he's able, or contain, and he's able to just, like, snipe harvesters endlessly, this could end up working out really well for Zlex, because, again, if we look at kind of the layout of the eco on the map, Zlex has got 2 very close double 10 spots of Catalyst, so he can get 40 credit a second from that, and then there's a third 10 spot on kind of the right side where he can get an extra 10. And that all comes funneled down to just that 1 choke point.
Yeah. Well, we see the anti-heavy sentinel coming up indeed. He has 3 tridents though, so he will be able to snipe off at least some of the harvesters. If he picks the correct ones.
Yeah, that's the thing that he can do, is he can snipe harvesters pretty well. And especially as he rallies down a couple of more tridents, he'll be able to just snipe harvesters until the anti-heavy sentinels are brought in line.
Well, for now it's just good. Just 4 of those tridents and just stop the economy. That's all he has to do for now. And then just expand. Just add 2-3 extra refineries and eco boom, because you know he has to spend invest in anti-heavy sentinel, so he loses money. And the map is relatively big, so just 2 factories into sick eco. That would be my game plan here then.
Indeed, it's definitely a good idea. As we can see, he's poking in, doing what he can. We're starting to see him establish a bit of that eco. He's trying to get his 3rd refinery up and running, and he's stopped production on his factories. So actually, this may not be too bad for Zlex, because again, the travel time on this map with the north-south split is pretty long.
It is indeed. Well, the players are pretty even right now. I mean, both building the 3rd refinery.
Mm-hmm.
Zlex
and of course,
being a bit ahead in economy production, that's it.
Yeah, and Zlex, again, he's got that extra little bit of eco that's kind of on the cliff in the north that you don't have in the south. If you want to take that kind of equivalent eco in the south, that expansion, that extractor is a lot closer to your opponent. It's a lot more exposed. It's just a bit more open. But he can go for, I think, the only 13 pool on this map in the middle there is definitely closer to the southern side than the north.
Well, yeah, maybe this could be one of those games we will see walls. I mean, just shield off one of those choke points and you're pretty safe to mine the 13th spot.
Yeah. Now, Zlexi's sitting on that 3 factory production. He's not doing a whole lot with it just yet. He doesn't have all 3 factories cranking, but he's more worried about getting that eco online. He could even drop down an additional refinery if he wants. He's still got more spots in his main base that he can drop down refineries on.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather not have seen him build the extra factory. Rather, just go into an extra refinery, tech building, then build from a large factory. That is way more cost efficient in my opinion.
Yeah, quite possibly. Zlex is going to be moving out in the middle of the map. As we can see, he's starting to rally down his tridents, he's starting to rally down his revolvers, and maybe he's going to start putting on some pressure. He's adding on another refinery back home as well. Now, ZX adds on 2 more factories.
Let's see, about 10 units from Ganon against, I think, about 12. It will be pretty even, as some of the units are very late.
Yeah, it's actually hard to tell who's got the advantage here with the brush. I know that ZxGanon got the first shots off, but I'm not sure how many of his forces actually still remain. Zlex apparently is a little bit worried about his forces there as he pulls back, and actually Zlex... Interesting, he's not taking the safer expansions in his main base, he's expanding forward.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to deplete the resources. He's going for the long game, or at least he's expecting to be a long game. And those catalyst fields only contain a certain amount of catalyst, so why drain it? Well, the other one is relatively safe.
Ooh, now ZxGanon, he's adding on 4 air pads here.
You're gonna see some air fights again. Lovely. Ooh.
Quite possibly, yeah. He may just be looking for using the scythes to tear apart Zlex's forces, much like we saw in the previous game, where those scythes really made the difference at the beginning of one of those final engagements.
Yeah. Well, the splash damage is pretty huge on scythes, so it's fun. I do think, as said again, they should tech up faster.
Yeah, they're really relying on this kind of very low tech play. They've really been digging it. And there gets to a point where you have so many tier 1 units that you can overwhelm just about anything. But if you don't have quite that critical mass number and your opponent decides to tech up, then they can just absolutely shred you.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine Ganon having 2 howitzers in his army. I mean, that's it's 7 minutes in the game, so it's possible. Around this mark you see artillery units. I mean, Zlex would have no chance at all.
Yeah, his entire Tier 1 army would just be shut down so hard. Now, Zlex, he's getting his large factories up and running. He's also adding on a large number of those attachments to them.
Yeah, he wants to build everything.
It would be kind of hilarious if he was going for some sort of really fast, epic build. Now, Zlex is moving in the south. He's got a fair number of units here, a couple of revolvers mixed in as well with the Trident, so they're going to be able to shoot down this extractor pretty quickly. They might actually be able to grab this Gladius just for bonus, but nope. He does have that anti-heavy sentinel to protect him.
Just focus on the extractor, man. Don't bother.
Yeah. Now we're seeing ZxGanon make the same sort of kind of cutesy moves where he's trying to bait Zlex into the anti-heavy sentinel because he knows how much more powerful that will make his defense. But Zlex is being a little bit too smart for that, and oh, the Scythe is out. It's sniping down unit after unit. A couple of those Tier 1 units just getting absolutely wrecked. And again, ZxGanon, he's a little bit slow on the replacement of that particular anti-heavy sentinel, so he may... Oh, no, the extra sides are here. Now, Zlex may have an opportunity to snipe down some of these sides. Nope, they're not landing for long enough. Good control by ZxGanon.
Ooh, one will go down, I think. No? Yes, one goes down.
Yes, he does snipe it. But again, ZxGanon, as long as he's able to push away this force, he's got that advantage of those sides, and suddenly every Tier 1 battle is going to be going massively in his favor.
Well, we discussed earlier about the anti-air. I forgot the name. Do you remember the name of the human anti-air?
I can only think of the Cloudburst, which is the beta right now.
Okay, now, whatever. The human anti-air unit? As said earlier, you can upgrade it, that it also shoots at ground units. I mean, whoop, a big engagement in the middle.
Yeah, Zlex just kind of has overwhelming numbers. He also has his monitors just kind of circling above, and he wasn't quite able to snipe the extractors in the main base. Well, the second set of extractors in the main base of his opponent. It looks like it is called the longbow. Thanks to Verdi for that. Couldn't quite remember.
Thank you, a longbow it is indeed. Well, just upgrade it. The range is insane, and it works perfect against Tier 1 units.
Yeah, now Zlex, he's starting to expand a little bit off to the left, and this has been spotted by Ganon. Of course, he's got the monitors hanging out, scouting Zlex like he has been pretty much every game.
There'll be a big engagement coming up soon. You can feel it. It's in the air.
It is indeed in the air. Zlex coming forward. He's going to get a good look at his opponent's army. I don't know that Zlex actually has enough to take this engagement. He should probably just back off here. Now, he's got a pretty good concave, but with the sides, if they end up actually firing at these ground units, it'll really go overwhelming in the favor of ZxGanon. It may go in his favor overwhelmingly anyways, as he's just got reinforcements pouring to the front lines.
Yeah, Ganon has... I think he already had more units.
Yeah, at first, Zlex was getting off a couple of more shots than ZxGanon, but once actually all of ZxGanon's units were engaging, it was just a little bit overwhelming for him.
Howard's entered the field, though. Those units
finally
make a huge difference. Yeah, finally. I mean, 11 minutes in the game. It's a bit too late for my taste.
But it's kind of okay because his opponent, because ZxGanon hadn't gone Tier 2 particularly fast either. But ZxGanon, unlike Zlex, has been going for the monitor scouts. He's been keeping an eye on Zlex, and he's going to know, okay, you've got howitzers, and of course the sides can start to pick those guys off.
Yeah. Well, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. About 6 or 7 refineries from Zlex against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think Zlex is a bit ahead in economy. So I think he can afford building an extra large factory right now and just build the longbows with it, the upgraded longbows. Really, upgraded longbows combined with howitzers is a free win against in a human mirror.
Yeah. It would be a little bit silly if Zlex ended up losing this entire game purely because he didn't build anti-air. But Zlex is getting a couple of shots off with the howitzers. They're missing the majority of this army, unfortunately, for him. ZxGanon pushing forward. He's got the Gladiuses on the front line, sniping down those howitzers oh so quickly. But Zlex finally getting some shots off with his howitzers, which are actually impacting pretty well.
Yeah, I think in the first engagement he should have forced fire in front of his the enemy's army. It's a bit of a micro mistake there.
Yeah, a lot of those first howitzer shots didn't quite impact as he would have want to. But another large factory coming in for Zlex. He's going to have 3 large factories online. He's going to have 3 or 4 regular factories online as well, which is a pretty good amount of production. And it looks like finally ZxGanon is going to be going for that kind of center outline expansion. Ah, there we go. There the longbows are.
Finally.
Yep, out on the front line, they snipe down the sides, no problemo at all. They just slam them.
Is there a way you can see if a unit is upgraded? I don't think there is there?
Yes, if they have the upgrade, then it should show up on the little unit portrait. Like, I believe the scythes have the upgrade, the extra ammo upgrade, the payload upgrade. Mm-hmm. And that appears on their profile, but the longbows, I don't believe, have any upgrade currently.
Oh, a nice concave there. What to do? Ooh, devastated there.
Oh! That howitzer shot was just crazy.
Oh, it just hurts looking at it.
Yeah, ZxGanon has actually a fair number of Gladiuses. If he can get them in range of the howitzers, then he can start tearing through Zlex's army. But for now, Zlex just has tier 1, too much tier 1 buffering for the howitzers.
Oh dear, man.
Yep, and now Zlex, he's going to be able to pick off some of these extractors without too much trouble. He's got a lot of DPS in this army, and the sides, oh, they're going to have to be so careful versus the longbows of Zlex.
Oh, that's one of the reasons I think air is not as effective. I mean, anti-air is so strong in this game. There is simply not much you can do once your opponent has their anti-air in place.
Yeah, it can be a little bit hard to deal with. 2 of the extractors getting slammed down by Zlex, a 3rd one going down as well. This is really hurting the eco of his opponent, because while Zlex has kind of been... In the early games, Zlex wasn't really expanding out, but in kind of the mid to late game, as we're passing, the 15-minute mark, Zlex has spent the last couple of minutes expanding out, establishing more and more extractors further and further away from home, so he's going to have still roaring eco.
Yeah,
but
the entire map.
Yeah, not so much. That side just got the attention of about a half-dozen longbows all at the same time, and they just absolutely shredded it. Zlex continuing to pour more and more units down. He's not even getting Lancers, not even... As I say that, he's just building Lancers right now. But he's not even using his teleporter tricks.
Ooh, de-engagement going on here.
Yeah, Zlex not really utilizing his howitzers very much. The sides are finally getting their shots off, but the longbows are just too good. The focus fire is too much for those sides, and now the howitzers tearing everything apart.
Yeah. Well, the army of Zlex is just too big.
Yep, and ZxGanon, I mean, he would have needed to be pulling some pretty big harassment moves to be able to come back at this point. He would just need to shred the entire army of Zlex, shut down all of the eco in a way that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, well, now we see just Zlex is going to focus down the 2 extractors that are mining. And I don't see Ganon coming back into this game.
Yeah. Zlex's Lancers are now on the front line, which ZxGanon did have some Lancers kind of advantage over Zlex, but the Lancers didn't really get an opportunity to charge up as much as they would have liked to. They didn't get an opportunity to do that damage that they would have liked to because they got shut down so fast.
And the brushes there, making it even harder for Ganon.
Oh, sheesh. There's the GG. And Zlex remains your champion of the ZxReplays.com King of the Hill.
Indeed. Yeah, hail the king, boys, indeed.
Hail the king.
So, what was the changing moment in this game?
I think it just came down to that one engagement where Zlex, he wasn't pushing in, but he was on Ganon's half of the map, and Ganon tried to push into Zlex's arty, and then Zlex just had so much tier 1 buffering for his arty, keeping Ganon's army in place, and we saw some of those pretty massive arty shots just wrecking Ganon's forces. They were so tightly clumped, and from that point forward, Zlex had too many cloud bursts for the scythes to be kind of a one-unit bounce back. Zlex had too much eco for Ganon to be able to like hold off Zlex, and then Zlex just had too many units for Ganon to really be able to just stop the sheer unit production.
Indeed. Well, I think overall in this game, Zlex just played better. He outplayed him, and that was it.